Hello and welcome to JJ, aka Justice Junkies, Episode 1. In today's episode, we'll be discussing the most demanding criminal law, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, along with the students of School of Legal Studies, KR Mangalam University. It must be noted by our viewers that Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita will come into implementation on 1st July 2024. Hello, Snigdha, Yashi,
Hello.
welcome. Can you please explain to our viewers what is BNS?
Sure. So, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita is the official criminal code of Republic of India. It was introduced in December 2023, but it will come in implementation from 1st July 2024, replacing the Indian Penal Code, which was the old criminal code, which was introduced at the time of Britishers during the British rule. So, yeah, we are hoping for a good change in the society.
As there was already a criminal code, तो BNS की क्या नीड आई?
So, as I already said, the Indian Penal Code was introduced and implemented at the time of British era, which was approx 160 years old. So, obviously, with changing times, we need a new law which will meet the present needs of the society. The Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita is a part of a larger initiative which will come in accordance with our Indian justice system, meeting the present needs of the society.
So Yashi, what's the concept behind giving the name Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, not any English name?
So, first of all, IPC was already an English name, Indian Penal Code, which was given by the Britishers under colonial rule. So, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita comprises of three terms. Bharatiya, which means Indian culture, which represents Indian culture because India is a very diverse country, and Indian Penal Code didn't represent Indian culture or something. The second one is Nyaya, which means justice. So, justice is served to the citizens of India without any disparity made between the citizens. The third one is Sanhita, which means compendium or collection of all the laws and statutes.
Is there any new provision or law which has come to BNS?
या तो BNS बेसिकली भारतीय न्याय संहिता में बहुत सारी चीज़ें और बहुत सारे ऑफेंसेस ऐड हुए हैं एंड बहुत सारी प्रोविजंस हैव बीन ड्रॉप्ड आउट लाइक 20 न्यू ऑफेंसेस ऐड हुए हैं द पनिशमेंट ऑफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट हैज़ बीन इंक्रीज्ड फॉर 33 ऑफेंसेस एंड बहुत सारी चीज़ें ड्रॉप हुए हैं फाइन्स इंक्रीज हुए हैं बहुत सारे ऑफेंसेस में तो ये एक न्यू लॉ है तो नए चेंजेस हम एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं.
सो स्निग्धा, अगर हम बात करें विमेन की कंडीशंस की, तो विमेन की कंडीशंस पहले क्या थी एंड व्हाट आर दे एस्पायरिंग नाउ?
इट इज़ वेरी एविडेंट दैट पहले के टाइम में वुमेन वॉज नॉट ट्रीटेड एज लाइक अ पर्सन और अ ह्यूमन बट मोर अ प्रॉपर्टी. एट दैट टाइम वुमेन को एक प्रॉपर्टी की तरह ट्रीट किया जाता था और उनकी कोई राइट्स की या फिर उनकी एस्पिरेशंस की कोई कंसिडरेशन नहीं दी जाती थी उनको. पहले के टाइम में ये होता था कि मतलब एक हस्बैंड को एक राइट माना जाता था कि उसका एक राइट है वुमेन पे एंड वो कुछ भी कर सकता है उसके साथ. एज हमने देखा है कि सेक्शन 375 ऑफ द इंडियन पीनल कोड एक्सक्लूड्स मैरिटल रेप. दिस एक्सेप्शन कम्स आउट फ्रॉम अ प्रॉब्लमैटिक बिलीफ दैट वुमेन इज़ अ मैन्स प्रॉपर्टी एंड वो कुछ भी कर सकता है उसके साथ. तो मैरिटल रेप का अभी तक कोई प्रोविजन नहीं है बट इन फ्यूचर वी आर एक्सपेक्टिंग एज हमने देखा विद चेंजिंग टाइम्स women have secured a significant position in the society, excelling in every field they go. हमने देखा एजुकेशन स्पोर्ट्स में एंड इवन करियर में they want equal opportunities and equal rights as men and they want to be standard on the same ground and as men.
स्निग्धा, अगर मैरिटल रेप इंक्लूड नहीं हुआ तो फिर क्या नया आया है?
तो हमने देखा कि मैरिटल रेप भारतीय न्याय संहिता में इट्स स्टिल एन एक्सेप्शन बट जो चीज़ नई आई और जो चीज़ अच्छी है इज़ दैट द एज ऑफ कंसेंट फॉर अ मैरिड वुमेन अंडर द डेफिनेशन ऑफ रेप हैज़ बीन चेंज फ्रॉम 15 years to 18 years. सो इट्स अ पॉजिटिव चेंज एंड ऑब्वियसली वी कैन लुक अप टू इट.
और कोई अलग सी चीज़ जो एक नया प्रोविजन जो कि विमेन को फेवर कर रहा हो?
तो भारतीय न्याय संहिता में एक और प्रोविजन ऐड करा गया है विच इज़ अ फॉल्स प्रॉमिस ऑफ मैरिज. So, one major change which has been made is the change in age of consent. और उसको नज़र में रखते हुए फॉल्स प्रॉमिस ऑफ मैरिज एक नया प्रोविजन लाया गया है भारतीय न्याय संहिता में. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, व्हाट डू वी अंडरस्टैंड बाय फॉल्स प्रॉमिस ऑफ मैरिज? It is a promise to marry the other spouse in a bad faith without any intention of being kept. So section 69 of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita deals with it. It states that if a man promises to marry the woman without any intention of marrying her and still has consensual sex with her, this will amount to a criminal offence. That means that sex under deceitful means or false promises of marriage is a punishable offence, and the punish can extend up to 10 years of imprisonment of the person. So with this, a new provision was carved out in Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Earlier, not earlier, like nowadays, the IPC deals with this under rape provisions under section 375 and 90 of the existing IPC. So basically, there are two aspects of these. The first one is where the man promises to marry the woman without any intention of being kept. And the second one is where the man promises to marry the woman and he has the intention to marry her, but due to some family reasons or legitimate reasons, he couldn't do so. Now, there is a landmark case of Anurag Soni versus the state of Maharashtra 2019, where the Supreme Court ruled that the accused had malified motives to use his spouse for satisfying his lust. So this is a clear case of deception and cheating. So the accused was punished under section 375 of the existing IPC. So as we are aware of the fact that live-in relationships are very prominent these days, so it becomes crucial for the government and for us to have a law on false promises of marriage to protect the female or the women portion of the society. So this again has two aspects to it. The first one is where both the spouses are agreeing to the fact that okay, we will have physical relationship, but we are not gonna marry in the future. So I am well aware of the fact that I am having physical relationship with this person who is not gonna be with me in the future. So I cannot file a case against him. Now the second aspect is where the man promises to marry the woman and says that just let's be physical, I'll marry you in the future, but doesn't do so in the future. So the woman has all the rights to file a case against that person, and he'll have to face the consequences. He'll have to go to the jail for 10 years. Thus, the case which defines it is Mandar versus the state of Maharashtra, in which both the spouses agreed to have physical relationship, but due to some reasons, the relationship fell apart. So it was ruled that any relationship, be it for any long term, can fall apart due to any reasons like physical issues, incompatibility, psychological issues, or anything. So they are not bound or compelled to marry each other just because they had physical relationship with each other. So that is how it differentiates between the two.
So Yashi, what constitutes fraud in premarital context?
Fraud. So as the term suggests, fraud can be done from both the parties, be it the man or the woman. So there are basically four aspects of it. The first one can be false misrepresentation. Like if one spouse says that I have this much property, this much property I have, or I am very financially stable, but on the other hand he is not. He is just saying so to convince the other person to marry him. So the first one can be this. The second one can be misrepresentation, or marriage for gain, like I'm marrying the other person just because she's giving me this much dowry, this car, this, that, and all. So I'm marrying her for her property, not for the the sake of marriage. The other one can be The other one can be concealment of information, where or the non-disclosure of earlier marriages. If I'm not telling you about my current existing marital status, I'm married and still I'm asking you or proposing you to marry me. So this will also come under fraud. Like I'm not disclosing the fact that I'm already married or I am divorced person or something. That is it.
So in the last of our first segment, I would like to ask both of you to justify BNS in one line.
BNS is the new implementation, so I feel that it will bring a new change in the society and it will satisfy the needs of the present and will surely look up for a positive change.
So Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita came into effect to replace the existing IPC due to change in societal problems. Like earlier we had different societal problems, but now in today's time we have a totally different societal problem. So it replaces the law and it brings new provisions, and it is a law of our own. Like the name which the government has given it, Bharatiya न्याय Sanhita, it is Sanskrit originated, or it comes from Sanskrit, right? The IPC or Indian Penal Code was given by the Britishers under colonial rule, which was for far long time ago.
So in this way we can stay connected to our roots as well.
Yeah.
As an Indian, we can stay connected.
Now let's move on to our next segment. And in this segment, we have our two speakers, Manvi and Srishti. They will be speaking about organized crime and mob lynching. Before we start, Manvi, could you please explain what is mob lynching?
Yeah, mob lynching is described the act of commits the violence committed by the large number of peoples, and it also violates the human dignity under Article 21 of Constitution of India, and also the right of equality and prohibition. And initially there was no sections, particularly in Indian Penal Code 1860 for mob lynching. It comes under the section 302 of IPC, but now in BNS it replaces the section 103, defining that now mob lynching commits the proper crime, and if the person attempts to do mob lynching or commits the murder, so it will be the punishment for like 7 years, and it causes the death penalty also.
So, is there any difference between mob lynching and organized crime, as it seems similar?
Firstly, I would like to talk about what is organized crime. It is mentioned under section 109 of Bharatiya न्याय Sanhita. It talks about an activity which is continuing and is unlawful in nature. So it can be done either jointly or severally. It can be done by forming organizations or by individuals as well. So this is happening today because most of the people wants to get direct benefit from it, or the material benefit, either in terms of financial resources. It involves crimes such as human trafficking, cyber crimes, money laundering, and many more. So mob lynching is, we can say, is a part of organized crime because it is done by the intention to create nuisance and harm to the people by creating violence which can affect a larger number of mass and people.
ऐसी कोई लैंडमार्क जजमेंट जो कि मोब लिंचिंग के ऊपर हो?
हाँ, एक केस है तहसीन एस पुणेवाला वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया एंड अदर्स 2018. Like this case was 2010 to 2017 where there was going in animal protection protest. वहाँ पे सबसे बड़ा मोब लिंचिंग का एक तो रीज़न है काउ विजिलेंसी, और वहाँ पे यही प्रोटेस्ट में लोग अपने लाइक एनिमल्स को प्रोटेक्ट कर रहे थे, अपने फार्म्स को प्रोटेक्ट कर रहे थे. तो तब क्या हुआ था, कुछ लोग काउ विजिलेंसी का नाम देकर, काउ प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट का नाम देकर वो लोग इनोसेंट पीपल्स को किल कर रहे थे. दैट वाज नॉट जस्टिफाइड. तो यही हुआ कि भाई वो लोग कह रहे हैं कि गुड फेथ में हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं, बट इनोसेंट पीपल को किल करना वॉट नॉट अ गुड थिंग. तो यही सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जब ये केस गया इन 2018, तो वही हेल्ड हुआ. वहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट हेल्ड दैट कि दिस इज़ नॉट जस्टिफाइड कि यू आर सेइंग इन गुड फेथ एंड किलिंग इनोसेंट पीपल्स. तो दिस वॉज दी मोब लिंचिंग नाउ क्राइम, एंड इनिशियली दैट वॉज आई सेड दैट कि पहले कोई इसका पर्टिकुलर सेक्शन नहीं था. जब ये मर्डर होता था तो इट वॉज कम अंडर सेक्शन 302, बट नाउ इन BNS इट रिप्लेसेस सेक्शन 103 बाय सेइंग दैट कि अब मोब लिंचिंग इज अ लीगल क्राइम एंड देयर इज अ पनिशमेंट ऑफ 7 years.
सृष्टि, अगर मैं बात करूँ एक जनरल क्वेश्चन की, सोसाइटी में क्रिमिनलाइजेशन को रोकने के लिए जो हमारी लॉ इन्फोर्समेंट एजेंसीज है वो क्या काम कर सकती है अकॉर्डिंग टू यू?
So now as to say investigation procedures को बहुत strong किया गया है, people के apprehension को कम किया गया है, and right now the fines and the penalties have been stricter because पहले ऐसा नहीं होता था because IPC में इसका एक particular provision नहीं था पहले, but now अभी बहुत सारे sections यहाँ पे involve किए गए हैं, like section 294 which talks about cyber crime. It talks about the transmission and publication of obscene material either in the electronic form or offline. So यहाँ पे stringent punishment का जो concept है वो लाया गया है because एक deterrent effect हमें society में create करना है ताकि लोग crime करने के पहले fear करें कि उन्हें stricter punishment या penalties pay करने पड़ेंगे. Right now the punishment and the penalties is minimum 5 lakh rupees from the starting of fines, and it can extend up to the brutality of crime, and the offense of the crime must be very stricter right now, because imprisonment of at least 5 years of any person who is doing an act is right now have been established, and it can extend up to life imprisonment as well. So as we seen, many provisions have been taken, and the case of money laundering, if any person do any justice or concealment, like if any person will go against the law which is unlawful and tries to prove it that it is a lawful thing which he has done, so it comes under fraud and many other things like coercion and misrepresentation. So it will eventually be criticized by the law and the sections which have been established right now. And right now BNS is a victim centric approach. It is going towards that approach because the cases of human trafficking and child trafficking has been very much increased. So trafficking of prostitution has also been increased. So several rights have been also given to those people for the justice towards those people who have all been suffered. So right now the concept of stringent punishment and the punishment concepts have been distributed among various sections so that there is an proper justice given to those people.
So in the last, I would like to ask both of you to explain what do you understand by BNS in one line.
So BNS replaces the colonial era of IPC, and it aimed to be modernized, and hopefully we should look after the change society.
For me, in my opinion, BNS is something very transformative, and right now we are looking for more provisions to provide more justice to the people, but yet I would say that it is insufficient in many cases. Right now there are not, so to say, not many things have been going towards justice, or justice is not given on the basis of group polarization. In fact, there are many cases where the court needs to held a judgment which is actually not fair to the people, and the people will think they have not been provided justice because there is no provision in the constitution or in this Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita as well. So we have to create more provisions and more sections to segregate the differences of the crime, and there is no exception that there are many cases that brutality has been obviously very much increased right now. So we need to look for more provisions, yet I would say that it is transformative but insufficient.
This was the end of our first episode. Now stay tuned for our next episode of Justice Junkies. Thank you.